Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to what promises to be an informative session. My name is Priyanka R Khanna. I am the mother of two, the author of the novel All the Right People, and the moderator for today's afternoon. When P&G Shiksha approached me for this discussion, centered around the incredible cause of education, I immediately said yes. Their intention is one we all need to get behind. For P&G to be a force of good and a force for growth, to look through the lens of citizenship and community is not only good business practice, it is essential for a larger ecosystem. With this in mind, in 2005, they launched P&G Shiksha, the flagship CSR program of P&G, before CSR was government mandated for large corporations. With P&G Shiksha, the aim is to provide access to education to underprivileged children. In the last 18 years, P&G Shiksha has built and supported over 3,000 schools, impacting the lives of 35 lakh children. As the country evolved, the program also evolved into 360 holistic programs aiming to improve learning outcomes in children, strengthen educational infrastructure, and empower marginalized girls through education. As the mother of two young children, this is a cause and an intent I am incredibly passionate about. The work that P&G Shiksha is doing will keenly impact the next generations of our country. While the original intention of P&G Shiksha began with building educational infrastructure, it soon pivoted to holistic education, as they realized it's not just enough to get children to go to school, but to make them stay and thrive there. And that's why what we will speak here today is a topic that is not known much about. Any problem that has long-term implications starts small, often missing the naked eye and eventually compounding into a larger problem with a deeper impact. As the popular saying goes, prevention is better than cure. Many such problems, if diagnosed early and treated effectively, have the potential to be cured. Today, we are here to unearth one such problem statement which exists all around us, albeit it's often invisible to the naked eye. The invisible gap. In fact, it's the first time this pertinent issue, this issue of the learning gap or the invisible gap, is being addressed in the mainstream media. Before I introduce our Power Pack panel, I want to discuss what is the invisible gap. When a child's current learning levels are not in line with their expected grade learning level, as defined by a curriculum, it leads to an invisible learning gap. And sadly, the pandemic has further accentuated this divide. As the mother of a child born just a few months before lockdown, my family has personally faced issues with a slight developmental delay. But I am grateful for that privilege and the access we have, that early intervention was possible and has made a marked difference. We have a fantastic panel with us here today. We have the national award-winning actor, Shefali Shah. Shefali needs no introduction. Her stellar career over 2 decades has spanned brilliant performances in Delhi Crime, Darlings, Monsoon Wedding, Juice, Once Again, and many more. Her performance in the Netflix original Delhi Crime garnered wide critical acclaim, with the show winning the Best Drama Series at the 48th International Emmy Awards. During lockdown, Shefali donned the director's hat with her 2 short films, Someday and Happy Birthday Mamiji, both dealing with the theme of isolation. She will next be seen in Three of Us, that had its world premiere in the Panorama segment at IFFI. Welcome, Shefali.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Next, we have Girish, Kalyanaraman, Vice President, Brand Operations and Category Lead, Feminine Care, P&G India. Girish joined P&G in 2007 as an Assistant Brand Manager and has since grown in the company across various leadership roles, transforming the company's media operations and agency partnerships, leading data-led digital media transformation. He has also pioneered strategic in-housing of multiple media capabilities. He has a diverse experience of managing and leading teams across countries like Singapore and Switzerland. Girish is passionate about developing talent, grooming younger generations of leaders, and is an enthusiastic trainer across various topics on business and people management. He also runs a social media film appreciation page, loves to play cricket on weekends, and plays the tabla. Nice to see you, Girish.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Ritesh Agarwal is a leading growth, impact and scale at EI Mindspark. He has been working with educational initiatives for the last 4 years and currently leads EI Shiksha, a vertical of EI that exclusively works with low-income government schools in India. Ritesh has rich experience in working with governments, institutional funders and other key stakeholders in the social sector. He is well versed with evolving trends and assessments, educational technology, policy and developmental finance. Ritesh has also been part of some of the most prestigious fellowships, namely the Gandhi Fellowship, the Young India Fellowship with Ashoka University and the Anubhav Fellowship with U Chicago. His favorite pastimes include reading books, discussing movies and learning new things. Nice to see you too, Ritesh. And finally, Mr. Sagar Singh, TGT GHS Bana Keser. Post working in the textile industries for 3 years, Mr. Singh took up a Bachelor in Education course from Himachal Pradesh University and joined the Education Department as a private teacher. Mr. Singh is currently working at GHS Bana Keser, where he teaches mathematics to students in grades 6 through 10. He has maintained a remarkable track record of consistently achieving about 90% results in his subject in class 10th board exams for the past 5 years. In addition, a student from his school secured 3rd position junior level in district level mathematics Olympiad in 2022. He is also actively involved in extracurricular activities by providing chess coaching to the students of his school, with one of his students representing at a chess tournament organized by the Educational Department of Himachal Pradesh last year. Welcome, Mr. Singh. And welcome to you all. I'm going to start with you, Shefali. This issue of the invisible gap and the learning gap that I discussed earlier today. Have you ever faced this issue growing up, or as a mother of 2 grown sons? Have there been instances where this has come into your life? How have you, and if yes, how have you dealt with it?
Not just being a mother. It's come in when I was a student. Nobody even realized that that could have been the problem. We have to understand and acknowledge that every child's aptitude and interest level is different from the other. They're not made out of one singular block. And somebody's grasping power towards one subject may be more, while the other one's inclination towards another subject may be more. That does not question their intelligence. It just questions their interest in certain things, which is the case with all of us, right? I mean, you play cricket. I don't.
Yeah.
But does that make us any lesser than each other? No. It's just a question of interest. But what happens when you're in school, which happened to me as well, is that when you lose interest or you don't understand a concept, you don't understand something, within 30 seconds to 2 minutes, you've lost track of what is going on. And then it just is like a house of cards that comes toppling down. So if somebody could register that that is the problem, it's not that the child isn't interested or is making excuses or finding reasons not to participate or not go, but there must be something that's coming in between, between the child and actually exploring their own full probability and possibility. So it's not just about my children. I have dealt with it, and so have my children. How did I deal with it? God knows. I just struggled through school, I think. Because I don't remember anyone asking me that, and then the pressure of trying to catch up is so much. It's just so much. And then you're, like some years ago, we had a school reunion. And I realized the only people who turned up were backbenchers. Me being one of them. And we've all done really, touch wood, well in our lives. So why were we backbenchers? Because we didn't answer. Because we weren't prompt enough to responding, or it didn't question our ability to grasp. It just questioned our ability to translate it. We could have taken it longer than somebody else. And it again, like I said, it varies from subject to subject. No? I may have been great at art, somebody else will be great at math. So I just struggled through it. I honestly really just struggled through, and just about managed to get through with the distinction, which was obviously necessary. My kids were our privilege, so we have the ability. I mean, that's why I think what Shiksha is doing is so amazing, because we are privileged. In cities, we have the availability of tuitions or extra classes, but in the interiors, I don't know how many children have that. So, well, my kids still have their own mind about education, but yeah, I'm so glad that Shiksha is doing this. Coming to the question, yes, I struggle.
Well, I think that's the entire focus of this campaign, is to provide that support and provide that awareness and the knowledge of these issues, so that next generations and current generations don't face that. Mr. Singh, you've been teaching for 2 decades. You must have seen lots of instances, like Shefali is saying, of students who have had who've dealt with this and not been able to cope.
बिल्कुल मैडम जी, मैं सबसे पहले तो धन्यवाद करूँगा P&G शिक्षा का कि मुझे इस तरह का प्लेटफॉर्म यहाँ पर मिला है, इतनी इम्पोर्टेंट जो हमारे स्कूल में रहता है उसको डिस्कस करने के लिए। और जैसा कि शेफाली मैडम ने कहा है, बिल्कुल कई कारण हो सकते हैं कि बच्चा लर्निंग बच्चे में डेवलप हो जाएँ, जैसे लैक ऑफ इंटरेस्ट या कोई कंसेप्ट क्लियर समझ नहीं आया। और मैं बिलोंग करता हूँ रूरल एरिया से, और मेरा जो एक्सपीरियंस रहा है टीचिंग का, वो 20 ईयर से मैं रूरल एरिया में ही टीच कर रहा हूँ, और सब्जेक्ट मैथमेटिक्स। और जैसा कि ये सब्जेक्ट कई बच्चे नाम से ही वो फोबिया रहता है, डरते हैं बच्चे, और उसके कई कारण हैं। जैसे फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मैडम ने कहा है कि लैक ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, कई बार हमारी जो टीचिंग मेथोडोलॉजी है वो बोरिंग हो जाती है, उसको हम प्रॉपर डिलीवर नहीं कर पाते। कुछ कारण अन्य भी हैं जिसको सारे हम यहाँ डिस्कस नहीं कर सकते हैं। तो बेसिकली क्या होता है, रूरल एरियाज में बच्चे में ये चीज़ें बहुत आम देखने को मिलती हैं। और जब बच्चा प्राइमरी एजुकेशन पूरी करके हमारे पास आता है मिडिल लेवल पे, तो बच्चा जो अर्थमेटिक के बेसिक ऑपरेशन है, प्लस माइनस करना या मल्टीप्लिकेशन डिवीज़न, उस बच्चे को वो बेसिक चीज़ें नहीं आती। अब हमें क्या करना है, हमें अगले कंसेप्ट से आगे पढ़ाने हैं, जैसे एचसीएफ, एलसीएम, या सिंपली कहें प्राइम फैक्टराइजेशन। तो बच्चा उसको अंडरस्टैंड नहीं कर पाएगा जब तक उसको वो बेसिक चीज़ें नहीं आती। और अगर बच्चा इन लर्निंग गेट के साथ बड़ी क्लास में जब जाता है, हर क्लासेस में, तो उसके ड्रॉप आउट करने के ज़्यादा चांसेस बन जाते हैं, क्योंकि वो बच्चा अपने आप को, जो उसका मेन स्ट्रीमिंग है, उससे अपने आप को अलग थलग महसूस करता है बच्चा। तो कोविड काल में तो ये मैं समझता हूँ एक बहुत बड़ी समस्या बनकर हमारे सामने आई है। मैक्सिमम बच्चे जो हैं, क्योंकि अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं है, जो फैसिलिटीज़ हैं, जैसे 2-3 भाई बहन हैं उनके पास एक ही मोबाइल है, तो ऑनलाइन क्लासेस उनके लिए पॉसिबल नहीं, तो सभी बच्चे अटेंड कर लेंगे। दूसरे भी कई कारण हैं, जैसे नेटवर्क इश्यूज रहते हैं मैक्सिमम हिल्स एरिया में, मैं हिमाचल से हूँ, वहाँ मैक्सिमम जगह नेटवर्क दिक्कत भी रहती है, बीच में कट ऑफ हो जाता है। तो ये कई समस्या हैं जो ये लर्निंग गैप्स को कॉज करती हैं, और बच्चे की जो उसकी लर्निंग लेवल उसको बिलो डिजायर्ड लेवल कर देती हैं। तो मैडम ये इसके लिए इवन हम स्कूल में ट्राई करते हैं कि उनका जो लर्निंग लेवल हो उसमें कुछ इम्प्रूव हो जाए एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस लेके, लेकिन उसकी कुछ लिमिट्स हैं सर, क्योंकि हमारे जो बच्चे हैं दूर से आते हैं, अबाउट 4 to 5 किलोमीटर्स, तो वहाँ बसेस की टाइमिंग भी लिमिटेड है। अगर हम एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस लेना भी चाहें तो बच्चे की बस छूट जाएगी, तो बच्चा फिर ज़्यादा सीखने की जाके कर सकता है, ड्रॉप कर सकता है बच्चा। तो ये इश्यूज बड़े प्रोमिनेंट हैं हमारे ग्रामीण स्कूलों में, क्योंकि हम खुद जहाँ मैं इस टाइम शिक्षा सेवाएं दे रहा हूँ, मैं उसी स्कूल से मैंने मिडिल स्टैंडर्ड पास किया है, मैं लास्ट 10 ईयर से वहीं टीचिंग कर रहा हूँ। तो मैं इन जो समस्याएं हैं इनसे खुद ही मैं उसमें रहा हूँ, स्ट्रगल किया है उस सिस्टम से, तो हम अच्छी तरह से समस्या को समझते हैं। और अगर इस मंच से ये उठी हैं तो मैं इसके लिए P&G शिक्षा का धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा। थैंक यू।
I think it goes back to the point that it's not only about building the schools, but making sure that they're supportive, conducive environments for the children to learn. Ritesh, looking from the point of view of an organization that is so deeply entrenched in the education sector, how would you define the outcome of this issue? What happens if gaps are not addressed? Because obviously this is an issue not many people know about. So it would be great if you could shed some light on this.
Thank you for asking this question and providing this forum for such an important issue. And I think what we've done very well in the past 60 years for independence is build a school. We've got the largest population of children going to a school now anywhere in the world. And that's absolutely like a remarkable feat for a country like us. But I think what's happening is, are children going to school and learning or not? And that's precisely the most important question to ask. And today what we're seeing is when children are going to school, what their grade level is. Supposedly a child is supposed to be at grade 5, is supposed to know all the concepts of grade 5. But what we see is children are actually almost 2 to 3 grade levels behind. So like what Sir was saying right now, that you've got a grade 5 child who does not know how to recognize numbers, and the teacher is now teaching them addition. And the analogy I would use is the foundation being weak, you can't expect the child to learn further. Now what this leads to, this gap leads to, is a loss of interest. And I'm sure, when I was in school, we used to say, teacher ne jo padhaya, bouncer ki tarah karega. And a lot of the students are feeling that, when they're sitting inside the class, teachers with their best of intent are teaching, but children are just not able to understand what the teachers do. And that leads to one, disinterest, and you want to sort of stay at home, you want to drop out, you feel that you can't learn, and so there's a lot of confidence that's undermined with the students. The parents start feeling, isko school se hata dete hain, isko ghar ke kaam pe rakh dete hain. There's a lot of variety of causes which sort of makes the child feel that I'm not good enough. And if the child is able to learn, there's confidence. The child being able to talk to their parents in English, read a newspaper clipping, and that gives them the possibility of what they can do. So I think if you would characterize it, it's important to think that if a child is learning with understanding, is able to be more confident, enjoy what the child is doing inside the classroom. So that's how I would characterize it.
That's really interesting. One of the most important aspects of the work P&G Shiksha do is their communication and messaging. Bringing awareness to the issues at hand is of immense value to galvanize the community to move to action. To ensure that their message of empowerment goes further and wider, the team creates heartwarming, incredibly moving films that best articulates their key focus. In a few minutes, you will see the story of little Bindya in a film titled Invisible Gap. Again, this is the first time the issue of the invisible gap is being communicated in such a strong, powerful manner. Let's please play the film.
जब सूरज चंद्रमा के पीछे छुप जाता है तो उसे क्या कहते हैं? इंडिया इंडिया नहीं है क्या? हाँ तो कौन बताएगा? तुम बताओ एक्लिप्स नहीं, सोलर एक्लिप्स। कौन बताएगा कि ये पेड़ अपना खाना कैसे बनाते हैं? आसमान। बिल्कुल, फोटो सिंथेसिस। बिंदिया चुप क्यों रही हो? बोलो बोलो बिंदिया।
सर मुझे डर लगता है। अगर मैं आपको देखूंगी नहीं तो आप मुझसे सवाल कैसे पूछोगे?
तो सूरज किस दिशा से उगता है? हाँ विद्या,
सूरज पूरब से उगता है।
बिल्कुल सही विद्या।
Thank you. The film is both heart-wrenching and heartwarming, and I think it perfectly illustrates all the points that you've been making, what you see on ground in schools in Shefali, what you've experienced. I particularly love that there's an action plan at the end. And Girish, I want to first come to you to get a reaction. This is such a powerful film, like all the ones that P&G has created in the past. Where did this thought come from, and what were you trying to achieve with this?
Sure. I first want to start by thanking all of you folks for joining us today and lending your support for this initiative that is extremely close to our heart. And I also feel incredibly privileged to be able to work on Shiksha, which I have grown up in P&G, admiring all through my P&G journey. So many senior leaders in P&G have sort of molded Shiksha through their journey. We started Shiksha actually in 2005. At the time, the objective was obviously to improve access to education. And in line with the government's Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan at that time, it was all about focusing on building more schools to drive more access to education. Right? I think over a period of time, Shiksha has also evolved into being a program that's focusing more on quality of education, improving learning outcomes, enabling and remedying learning gaps, strengthening education infrastructure, and sort of empowering marginalized communities. So it's become much more than where we started on Shiksha. It's now been 18 years for us, 18 years, and I think we have sort of built and supported more than 3,000 schools in the country and positively impacted 35 lakh children in the country. Right? Those are numbers that we feel incredibly proud of, but again, we know that there is a long way to go and so much more opportunity to improve. Specifically this year, I think the work this year started from a very real, very simple insight that all of us went through. I think Shefali spoke about it, I could speak about it for myself, is when we've all had moments where we did not want to look at the teacher. We've all had moments where we wanted to look down, avoid eye contact because we didn't know the answers and so on. So that I think is the starting point of where we started this year's work. And many kids face these difficulties. It could start from one concept, it could start from one subject or one particular class, and what could start off as a small gap would manifest differently in different ways. Like sometimes kids would sort of be perceived as not being serious or being mischievous and so on. But the real root of the problem is that they are facing a learning gap and they need help, right? And if not addressed, we know that in many cases this often leads to the gap widening, and in many cases the kid eventually dropping out of school. Right? Like Bindya, who we saw in the film, I think there are about 6 crores of children today in India who face the learning gap, and it is the gap that we want to shine the light on this year as P&G Shiksha, bringing broad awareness to the fact that there is an invisible learning gap, and just the fact that there is access to school does not mean that the kid or the children are getting good quality education. Right? So that's the journey that we want to get started on. This is the first step, bringing awareness and getting a discussion on this topic. That's where we want to start. Over the next few weeks and months, you will see the whole Shiksha program across touch points and all the things that we're going to be doing with this goal in sight. And we hope that this will get us started on a journey of understanding what children feel and what children go through, and how we collectively as a group can sort of help move our children forward. I also want to thank our partners, the agency team at LeoBonet, and all our media partners at MediaCom, Group M, Social Wash, Madison, all of these folks who all come together to create this piece of communication, which I hope will get us started on that journey.
Thank you, Girish. I think this has been so illuminating for so many of us who were not aware of this concept and how pervasive this issue really is. I think it's safe to say so many who are watching this, and all of us present here have faced or known someone who's faced this issue. Shefali, what was your first reaction when you saw this film?
Like you correctly said, it's heartwarming and it's heart-wrenching. But what struck me the most was that the teacher recognized the problem. So it's not just the kid. There are a lot of kids who go through it. And I was just thinking of it while we were discussing it and while everyone was talking about it. It's so strange. For so many years, you've been blaming children. And there's so many kids, 30 kids in a class. 30, like a private school would have 30 kids.
Yeah.
But the other schools might have 100 kids in a class. And you're blaming at least, let's say, 70% of that class. I can't believe that there could be so many people who are wrong. Have we ever questioned that maybe the way we are teaching them is wrong? And that's why this disinterest. That's why they don't want to be seen. But what is really important about this film is that someone registered it, someone acknowledged it, and decided to change it for the child. And I think Shiksha and this, bridging the gap, that is exactly what we are talking about, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here. Where you register what the problem is. The problem is not the child. The problem is that you're not being able to reach across because it's not interesting. So you create a program like Mindspark, which is more engaging, which is fun, which can be understood more simply. In fact, yes, I'm sure he'll be able to give you a much better perspective on it. But yesterday, when I was talking to the team, they explained it in a very simple way. They said, there might be a child who doesn't like maths or doesn't understand, but the strength of the kid is language. So how do we turn a formula or a maths problem into a storytelling level, which makes it far more understanding for the child, which just, instead of saying 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, saying you have 2, I have 2, we share this chocolate bars, how many do we have? It just makes so much sense. So I've completely gone into a whole spiel, but I love the film. And she is adorable. She really is.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, it's the teacher who recognized. So thank you, Singh sir, for all the work that teachers like you do in helping our children move forward. Ritesh, we saw the computer lab in the video, and I want to talk a little bit about that because I love that there's a move to action element of this video. So how are you working with P&G to bring this to life? Tell us more a little bit about it.
So, for the past 5 years, P&G and EI Mindspark have been working together to improve learning outcomes. And one of the biggest leverage we're trying to see is, can we use technology as one sort of an important lever that can support teachers like Sagar and many others who are there. We personally believe that teachers are like superheroes. And we believe technology is almost going to be like, the Thor hammer or the bat suit for them. So ultimately serve all the kids that there are 30 kids in a classroom. All of them learn differently. They might, love maths, some might love language. They learn in a different pace, which would mean that I might be able to learn nouns faster, but might take a lot of time to learn Sayut Akshar, which means that the pace I would require would be different. And the way I would learn in terms of, I want to solve questions, practice, some might want stories. So there's a lot of complexity which is there for a teacher's life to be able to serve the kids who are there inside the classroom. And what Mindspark and P&G have done is it's a personalized adaptive learning software which is available inside the government schools in the ICT labs which are available to support the teacher to remediate the learning gaps, to ultimately improve the foundational learning that the kids would have, and ultimately help them enjoy learning. and fall in love with learning. So that's essentially what we do. We are currently working across 7 states of India. We're working in some of the remotest parts of India. So we're working all the way in the remote tribal districts in Rajasthan. We're working in the hills of Himachal Pradesh. We're working in the urban areas of Thane. We're working in the urban areas of Telangana. So we're working across multiple languages with places where there are few teachers. There are schools which have 800 kids in a school. So we've been able to create a model which almost showcases the power of technology and what teachers can do with it to improve learning outcomes. This is something we continued even during COVID. So during the COVID time, when schools were shut, we were able to go to parents at their homes and provide them with learning support which otherwise would not be available for the kids. So that's essentially what the program is. It's supposedly focused completely on helping the child learn with understanding. And but for the child, it's fun to do. So that's how it is.
That's incredible. Mr. Singh, your school has the P&G Mindspark program. So how have you seen your children engage? What kind of impact have you seen? How do they interact with the program?
जैसा कि गिरीश सर ने कहा है, जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे पहले ज़्यादा जोर दिया गया पिछले कुछ डिकेड्स में, कुछ सालों में, तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर काफ़ी इम्प्रूव हुआ है विक्सन गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में, जहाँ पहले बहुत बुरे हाल थे। अब जो वक्त है वो है तो क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन देने की बात जो हो रही है उसको, तो उसमें जैसे सर ने कहा है कि कई ऑब्स्टेकल्स रहती हैं बच्चे के उसको इंटरेस्टिंग बनाने में, उसकी लर्निंग जो आउटकम है उनको इम्प्रूव करने में। तो मैं समझता हूँ जो ये माइंडस्पार्क का एक हमारे को हेल्प मिला है वो बहुत बढ़िया है। पिछले 4 सालों से जिस स्कूल में मैं टीचिंग कर रहा हूँ वहाँ पर ये चल रहा है प्रोग्राम। तो ये एक तो बच्चे की इंडिविजुअल लेवल के हिसाब से इसको प्रोग्राम किया गया है कि अब बच्चा जो लर्निंग करेगा वो अपने लेवल के हिसाब से करेगा। मान लो उसको दिक्कत है लोअर लेवल में, तो वो लोअर लेवल के क्वेश्चन ही उस पर प्रैक्टिस करेगा और उस कंसेप्ट को अपना क्लियर करेगा। अगली स्टेज पे वो तब पहुँचेगा जब वो लोअर लेवल को समझ जाएगा। तो बाय जो टेक्नोलॉजी से इसको जोड़ा है वो इंटरेस्टिंग बनता है लर्निंग को, क्योंकि हम जो करते हैं वो क्लासरूम टीचिंग करते हैं, हम सबकी नीड्स को वहाँ फुलफिल नहीं कर पाते, क्योंकि जैसे सर ने कहा कि हमारे पास 30 स्टूडेंट्स हैं तो हम इंडिविजुअल उनको नहीं उनका जो ज़रूरत है उसको पूरी कर पाते हैं। जो टेक्नोलॉजी का इसमें यूज किया है, जब लैब में बच्चे जाते हैं तो अपने अकॉर्डिंग अपने जो उनका लेवल है उसके अकॉर्डिंग काम करते हैं और उसमें वो इंटरेस्ट भी फील करते हैं और उनका जो कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल है उनको लगता है कि नहीं मैं भी कुछ ठीक कर रहा हूँ। और इन्होंने इसमें इंट्रोड्यूस किया है स्पार्किस, वो भी बड़ा बेस्ट अच्छा कंसेप्ट इसमें रहता है। जब बच्चा कंटिन्यूसली ठीक आंसर कर रहा है उसको स्पार्किस मिलती है, जो बच्चा बड़ा एंजॉय करता है बताता है उनको कि मुझे स्पार्किस मिले। और जो कंपटीशन रहता है वो भी इंडिविजुअल रहता है अपने लेवल के हिसाब से। बच्चा तो हम मान लो हमारे पास 10 बच्चे हैं, वो अलग अलग कंसेप्ट पे काम कर रहे हैं अपने लेवल के हिसाब से। तो बच्चा क्या करता है फिर वो खुश होता है कि मैंने जो टॉपर बच्चा था क्लासरूम में, जो टॉपर बनता है मैंने उसको डिफीट कर दिया है, वो उससे आगे बढ़ गए। हमारे पास एक केस है मेरे स्कूल में, हमारे पास एक लड़की है 8th क्लास में, काम्या। उसका अगर हम देखते थे क्लास में थोड़ा शाई नेचर की थी और उसका जो रिस्पॉन्स होते थे वो ज़्यादा रिस्पॉन्स नहीं करती थी। लेकिन जब से उसने यूज़ किया है पिछले 2 सालों से माइंडस्पार्क में, तो उसका जो परफॉर्मेंस है, उसकी जो अप्रोच है, उसके कंसेप्ट लेवल वो बढ़ी है और उसका जो क्लासरूम में उसका जो प्रदर्शन है वो भी बढ़ा है। तो थैंक यू टू सर कि हमें दूसरी बात जो लर्निंग गेप्स की बात हो रही सर, वो हम इंडिविजुअली जब हम बच्चा वहाँ कर रहा होता है तो उसको क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही है तो हम भी फाइंड आउट करने में और उसको ब्रिजिंग करने में बड़ा हमें भी बड़ी हेल्प मिलती है, क्योंकि हम हर बच्चे को देख रहे हैं कि बच्चा कौन से कंसेप्ट में उलझ रहा है, तो हमें भी फाइंड आउट करने में ईजी होता है। और दूसरा जो ब्रिजिंग भी बच्चा अपने आप भी कर लेते हैं, मैक्सिमम बच्चे कर लेते हैं, क्योंकि वो इंटरेस्ट ले रहा है। मेन बात इंटरेस्ट की है। जो हमारी टीचिंग है वो क्लासरूम से निकल के बाहर आ गई है, तो ऑब्वियस अपना लर्निंग को इंटरेस्टिंग बनाता है।
So like we saw in the video, over 6 crore children are impacted by this, like Vidya and the story of Kamya that Mrs. Singh just shared. So Girish, what kind of impact have you seen P&G Shiksha make on ground, and what's coming up in the future?
It's been a really gratifying journey for us on Shiksha for almost close to 2 decades now, right? P&G has always believed that our brands should step up as a force for good and a force for growth, and we know that the consumers out there also value brands that stand up and step up as a force for good. Now, Shiksha has been on for about 18 years now, and the impact that we saw the numbers earlier, that we talked about the fact that we have touched and helped to 3,000 schools, 35 lakh children. The numbers are great, but I think the real, a good positive feeling is when you step out and visit these schools, and you interact with these kids, how you see them benefit, how you see them respond to interventions. I think it's really, really gratifying when you do that. In fact, our Shiksha film last year, like we have Vidya this year, we had a different film last year, was the true story of a girl who studied in a Shiksha supported school and went on to become a teacher herself, right? And then now she's teaching hundreds of kids, etc., etc. So that impact has been very gratifying for all of us who work on Shiksha, and we know there's a lot to do. I mean, to your question on what lies ahead, I think step one is to drive awareness of what we just started off on driving awareness behind helping people understand the concept of learning gaps, helping people understand that kids are not to blame, to what Shefali said. Children are not to blame, and the invisible learning gap is very much there, and 6 crore children in the country are impacted by it. So that's what the communication and the campaign gets us started on. Apart from that, obviously, we need to back the communication up with genuine acts on the ground, which is where we feel we've truly done our job when we actually do things on the ground. And that's where I want to thank our partners like Ritesh ji with EI. The computer-based adaptive learning tool is wonderful in the way it helps children learn in a more engaged way. We have so many other partners, NGO partners who we also work with, be it Roundtable India, who help us build a lot of infrastructure, be it separate toilets for boys and girls in schools, clean drinking water for children in schools, building more classrooms, building playgrounds, all of this work that many of our other partners help us do. I do want to thank all of them. We will be continuing, to be committed to improving learning outcomes on across the country. And the last one is urging for collective action. Right? I think today we have a lot of support from a lot of our partners, be it our NGO partners as well as our media partners, our retail partners, agency partners, all of us who have joined us on this journey. Anybody watching can also learn more and understand what we do at Shiksha by simply visiting pgshiksha.com, where you will gain an understanding of both what an invisible gap is, what learning gaps are, and how we can help kids, as well as experience for yourself by taking a simple baseline test, which kind of helps identify learning gaps in children, and if you do see opportunities and identify learning gaps, you can also enroll onto the EI Mindspark program and kind of get started on that. So yeah, we know that there is a lot to do, but we're just getting started. Over the next few weeks and months, you will see that we have a really holistic program with a lot of exciting activations planned, which will reach millions of parents all across the country. And we hope that this will be a small intervention that will move us all forward, helping the community of students.
That's really commendable and incredible. Ritesh, we heard about Kamya and a first-hand story from Mr. Singh. Can you share any anecdotes that you've seen which have bridged this invisible gap?
Yeah. Thank you. So I'll share with you a story, but I'll also share with you like a study that was conducted. A study was conducted on the program, and they found that children who were part of the program were actually learning double as compared to children who didn't have the program. So that's more from a academic rigor research perspective. But I still fondly remember this story of a girl called Lavi, whom I met in Dungarpur in Rajasthan. And I had just joined the program, and this was a very beginning of a partnership. And I went to the school, and I asked the teacher, "Bachche aa rahe hain time pe, school pe aa rahe hain?" And they were like, "Aate rehte hain, attendance hota hai normal 60-70%." And this girl Lavi was there, and she was in grade 5. And our diagnosis was that the child is actually of a learning level 2 itself. And so when you ask this child to read a paragraph, the child would read like ma, me, ra, na. So she would not have fluency. She'd be able to identify, but she'd not be able to read a paragraph. So we went to the community, we asked, and the mother just told us, इसको मन नहीं है पढ़ने का, इसको एकदम भी मेरा लड़का तो जो स्कूल में जा रहा है वो बहुत अच्छा है, इसको तो मन नहीं है पढ़ने का. So like, but क्यों? क्योंकि देखो ये पढ़ नहीं पा रही है, टीचर बोल रही है कि उसको कुछ आता नहीं है. And so I asked the teacher said, look, she's always shy, like India whom we saw, she's not answering, like she's not proactive inside the classroom. And throughout the past 3 years, of course in COVID she was using it in our community labs and after that. Now she can actually read the full paragraph. And there's a change in her overall body language. The teacher tells me that she still doesn't like math, but is excellent in language. And for us that's just a testament. So when I asked her, what do you want to do now? She said, मेरे को तो board exam में top करना है, teacher बनना है school. And so that's something that is really inspiring in terms of, someone, the parent thought पढ़ नहीं सकता, teacher thought कि इसका कुछ नहीं हो सकता. The child also almost has that belief almost come on. But thanks to the support of P&G and others, we were able to change that narrative and almost create that impact to the child, a better life outcome. That's what keeps us all energized for this course. Yeah.
I think it echoes what Girish said, right? The numbers are incredible, but when you see these first-hand accounts and you see the impact you made on a person's life, that really is what keeps everyone going. I think also you touched upon the symptoms of the invisible gap, which is often discounted as disinterest or being naughty or all of those, which are so important to recognize that it might be actually a symptom of the invisible gap. On a closing note, Shefali, let me come to you. From a community standpoint, how do you think interventions like this can pan out? How can collective action help?
First is understanding it, acknowledging it. Like for example, when people see this film, I mean, I'm a parent, I've been a student, I've gone through this, my children have in their own way, and I've never been able to articulate it as an invisible gap. I just haven't been able to articulate it. Nobody ever even brought it up. The very fact that it's been talked about, the very fact that there is a visual medium which is going to reach more people. And when you see the film, it's not just a boring film. It's a film that will stay with you. Like even, I come from that world, and it's such a sweet film. Even the music of it stays with you. So it's going to have a recall value. And then it's not just going to be a recall value for the film, but it's going to be a recall value for the thought behind it. Another thing that when I was discussing it with the team yesterday, I figured that they have, like what also Girish said, that there is a test by which you can gauge what level the child is in and what kind of support the child needs. Thirdly, the very fact that Mindspark is making it interactive and fun and enjoyable, where kids want to do it. It's so much more interesting than sitting in a class and trying to go beyond the third sentence. I mean, that can be really boring. It was boring for me. There is a difference between learning and studying. I think what P&G and what Shiksha is trying to support and encourage is learning, not necessarily studying. So I think if I saw this film, it would set me thinking. When I saw, I saw it yesterday and I said, oh my God, why didn't I think of it like this? Why didn't anyone tell me this? It's really so simple. And it's not, it's not the kid's fault. They just didn't want to be embarrassed. And that's why all the excuses of I don't want to go to school or a backbencher or not participating. And in the bigger picture, the damage it does to a child's confidence to start believing I'm not good enough, which is really, if this can help in solving all these issues, a simple thing like this, when I say simple, I don't mean, it's obviously not, it's simple to understand. Obviously there's a lot of richness to it. But if it can reach out to people, which I'm sure, if I saw this film, it got me thinking for sure. So I think we all can, I would want people to see this. you know, of course, my kids are now one is in uni, one is in his last year of college. But the younger kids, I mean, I would want to say that 1 second, have you ever considered it this way? Watch it. Just see it, you know.
No, I think you bring up very important points. I think the difference between learning and studying is so important, and I think that's what this is aiming towards, you know. And you said it's a simple concept to understand, but so much behind that goes to push it forward. Thank you all for being here today. I think it's safe to say this morning has been thoroughly educational and informative. To see the groundbreaking work that P&G Shiksha is doing to get children to be able to attend school and then thrive in a supportive learning environment is truly, truly commendable. So kudos to you and your entire team for the work that they're doing. But like Shefali said, the onus is also on us. It is our responsibility to ensure that the awareness is built further and the next generation is supported through their education. So no child feels that he or she has to go through this alone. That's why we are here today, to provide as many children that access, to get them the support they need to grow, to learn, and to explore the world. Because if your child and my child can have that, then we owe it to the next generation to focus on this invisible gap, to make this problem visible, and to create a large impact in the lives and minds of young students. Thank you to our esteemed panel who took time out of their schedule to spread this message, and thank you to the P&G and P&G Shiksha team for all their incredible work on this initiative.